Welcome to the Intern Whisperer. Our show is all about the future of work and innovation. And my name is Isabella Johnston. I am the host of the Intern Whisperer podcast, which is brought to you by Employers for Change. We help hiring teams reduce employer bias and increase competency, skill, recruitment, and learning. Today's guest is Robert Katz. He is the CEO of World Innovation Network, a nonprofit that is a top technology think tank, lots of alliteration there, folks, an inimitable innovation igniter. Lots of, again, all of those eyes. Okay, as the leading 501c3 nonprofit, WIN also enjoys being honored as an intentional, credentialed, non-government organization, also called NGO. And Robert is an educator, public speaker, author, and I met him at an event at the Kennedy Space Center called Small Sat Space. And I knew he had to be a guest on my show because, well, it's about space. Who doesn't love space? It is the next frontier. So, Robert, welcome to the show.
Wow. Thank you so much. You set the bar so high. I hope I can meet that. But
oh, gosh.
Honored to be here.
You're way too complimentary here. Thank you so much.
You deserve it all and more.
Okay, so let's go over these 5 words that you would just use to describe yourself. Most of my listeners all know we start this way. Your first word was inspiration, and I'm just so my listeners can get an idea of what's going on here. We have all I words, just so you know.
No, the eyes have it.
And the eyes have it. Who would have thought? Yeah. Now this part they usually know. Oh yeah, this is what's happening here. So it's not a big deal. They don't know what else is coming. But the first one is inspiration. Why inspiration? Why does that word describe you?
Because I see my mission as to inspire the next generation. I want to have 5 million more of me, or people that have the same amazing opportunities that I had, to have impact, another I word, which I say that's the bonus word, impact, to be able to have those opportunities to be able to affect change, positive change in their community, in their county, in their city, and their country, and in the world. So I want to be able to empower them to be able to do so. So inspiring is very, very important.
Oh, I would agree with you. Very much so. So you said ideation. Why is that one your second word?
So we have to inspire to do what? So we have to think about lots of people say it's, I'm in the startup world, the startup community. People think that's where solutions come from, and maybe it's solutions, but we have to instead not start with the solutions. We need to start with the problems or the challenges or things that we need to have solutions for which we need solutions. No participles dangling around here. So we need to start with looking at what are the big challenges or problems that we can solve, and then ideate solutions to those problems. But always starts with the problems, or as Stephen Covey would say, begin with the end in mind. And we say, oh, we have a great idea, follow your dreams, follow your passion. That's not a good idea to do that.
No.
You take a problem and look for solutions, ideate, and iterate over those ideations. We'll get to that here in a second. Iterate could have also been a second bonus iterate over possible ideas on how to solve that problem.
I agree. Innovation. Why innovation?
Well, innovation is the solutions to the problems that we're going to solve, that we're inspiring the next generation to solve, or help us solve, or solve with us or for us. So we have to do things differently. So innovate means to look at something differently, very differently, not evolutionarily differently. Usually we want to do something revolutionarily differently. And so that's why innovations are important, game changers, something that's going to if you're going to, people don't understand that even if they have a great idea or a great solution, it has to be really amazing for a company or a consumer or somebody to take a risk on a startup, or whether it's a startup person or a startup company, to be able to take on that challenge. So it has to really have a high gain. So it has to be, we have to have something very innovative, revolutionarily innovative, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
I like those words for sure. Integration. Why
So
integration?
integration is probably one of the most important secret sauce, and that means we need to have a completely interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, multi-spectrum, multi-person, multi-domain, whole of society approach to any problem we're solving. We need all voices at the table, everybody included, in being able to look at the problem from different perspectives. That means that no matter how technical the problem is, we need people that are have expertise in art and in music and in humanities, and we need philosophers. One of the most amazing game-changing people in the space industry is a space philosopher, and we need everything needs to be communicated. So communications is so important, no matter how technical and geeky and wonky the solution may be. So integration means that we need to look at the problems holistically, and therefore the solutions need to be holistic as well.
Mm. Well, I see that it's a very thoughtfully crafted blanket that we're putting together here. So that's a very nice thing. The last of the 5 words is implementation. So I get it now. I see it from the beginning to the end, and that's hopefully what our listeners are gathering to. So implementation.
Yeah, get it done. Like, don't just talk about it, get it done. Implement it, and implement it sooner rather than later. Implement it early and often. And which is a voting day, so that's a voting joke. And so that you can iterate, which is again another the bonus I word. So when you implement, you can see the result of your idea, whether it's, again, these could be ideas for a business problem or a personal development, like something you're changing about yourself, something you're trying to do differently, and you implement it, you see the result, and then you iterate, and then you start back with new ideas. You start back at the beginning. So it's a rapid iteration of innovation is one of the keys to success. And we have lots of things today that allow us to do that. Lots of technologies, the power of software, the power of adaptive manufacturing, 3D printing, and things that allow for that rapid iteration that we all need to take advantage of. But that's just, get it done, try it, whether it's new vocabulary words that you're learning or whether it's new technologies, implement it.
That's really, really good. And so, just so our listeners can understand, originally these 5 words, when you first heard them, you may not have seen that there was a flow chart, if you will: inspiration, ideation, innovation, integration, and then implementation. So, it's an intentional look at how we can solve our problems. And you may not think about all of those steps in the process. So, you're a process person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not smart enough to do things freestyle. So there has to be
a
a
pattern.
roadmap. I mean, a roadmap to almost anything we do is good, even if you change and pivot along the way, or mid-course correction, as we say in the missile defense world. Which, but you have to have a place you're going before you even start the journey. You have to make sure that you're headed in the right direction. You can change as often as you need to, but you need to have that pathway, that
Mhm.
framework.
I agree totally. Okay, so on the next part of what we're going to be learning about you is
Uh-oh, this is
tell me more about how did you get started in your story? What is your story? How did you get started and how did you get to where you are now? You get like 15 minutes, so just so you know.
sure. So space, I feel like I started on this journey of space before I was even born. Because if you do the math, it gets pretty scary very fast. Uh, but I grew up fascinated with the exploration of space. I think, we have as as a species, I think, or maybe as all species, I haven't talked I'm not Dr. Doolittle, so I haven't talked to the animals, but they may be similarly. We love exploring. Otherwise, if we didn't want to explore, we'd still be in our cave. But somehow we
Hmm.
said, well, what's out there? Oh, there's risk. We might get eaten by a saber-tooth tiger, but we'll still go venture outside the cave anyway and see what's there. We got outside the cave. What's over the next mountain? What's over the next ridge? What's in the next continent. So we have this exploration inside of us that wants to find out more and explore. So outer space is naturally maybe not the final frontier, but the next frontier that we're to explore. And so I've always been fascinated with that and all of the both technology and humanity that goes along with that, which is both. To be able to say, well, because that whatever we find out there, we realize how small we actually are, and it kind of puts things in perspective. And helps us also see from a timeline perspective when you look at how old, the universe and my work in the Hubble Space Telescope was, I said, well, when I started, which was my first entree into space as an intern in college, I worked on calibrating the Hubble Space Telescope. And I said, oh, this is going to figure out the age of the universe, how old the universe is. I never thought that actually really happened, but it sounded good when I would brag to people about what I was doing at the
Hmm.
National Bureau of Standards at the time. And turns out many years later, it did. It did help determine that. But it helps put both technology in perspective and humanity in perspective. So I began with the Hubble Space Telescope while I was a freshman in college, and other space internships. And then eventually, when I went to MIT,
Did you
what
go to school there?
I was working between MIT and RPI on my PhD, and was there for what was allegedly a summer program, which then I got to someone knocked on the door. Robert, are you busy? I said, no, 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 but not busy. It's coming. Well, we have this project, if you want to help us with, we will have this little project we have to do. And they said, sure, no problem. I said, well, you have to go travel for it. It's okay, no problem. So I went, next thing you know, a helicopter lands. I jump in a helicopter. I'm in DC, and
Mm.
I'm getting a White House briefing from the CIA on the threat of the Russian missiles. And then I was working on the Star Wars program.
Wow.
Yeah. And the rest is sort of history, which we can talk about.
That is that is amazing because how many people really get to experience somebody coming over and saying, "Hey, we want to talk about space." I don't know anybody, so you're my first person. And space is so scary because none of the resources that we have we take for granted, like breathing with no apparatus. We don't have to think about it. We just can do it. You can't do that in space.
No, no, but you can't do that. So I'm also a firefighter, paramedic, and I teach an underwater rescue diver as well. So I was the head of my dive rescue team. So I have I don't take air for granted.
No.
That's for sure in many circumstances.
Yeah. How did you become an underwater diver rescuer?
Um, well, I always wanted, one of the things I always wanted to be was a fireman when I was little.
Mm.
And when I got to college, it didn't kind of work out that way. I kind of went, well, I was going to do medicine and then biology. My first day of college, my first class, the first lecture of the first class, I said, it was biology. And
Hmm.
they said, memorize all these phylums. I can't memorize anything. I can't even memorize my own name. So I said, I'm not going to be a doctor. So I went into physics and physics into engineering. And then that allowed me to then pursue my space dream, which I never thought that I could actually do. And then I was doing all these what I thought was amazing stuff as I said, with the Star Wars program. But whenever people ask me what I could do, what am I doing what's your work? I said, oh, computers, and because I couldn't really talk about anything I was doing. And my family would say, "Oh, you're so boring. Like you're such a super geek. That's horrible. Like, oh, I'm so embarrassed." I didn't want to like shame my family and be like that guy that was like
Are you
the super
firstborn?
geek. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I said to myself, "Well, I guess I know what I'll do. I'll go back. I'll go on the weekends, and I always want to be a fireman. I'll do that. That's cool. And
Hmm.
then I can talk about that. So I became started as a volunteer fireman, and then I became operational in many ways. Um, Once I got operational with a fireman, a paramedic, and then I realized that there's not a lot of fires anymore. The buildings don't burn down. And so people say, oh, that's nice. You're a fireman. Oh, that's nice. But, Johnny's dad is also a fireman. So I had to step it up a little bit. And so I went to swiftwater rescue, and then from swiftwater rescue, underwater rescue, and then became the head of our dive team.
So some people sometimes think that people that are like police and the military and firefighters, they kind of have this missing element of life being, no, I'm putting my life on the line, right? And they're fearless, but they are afraid too. Because when I go back, I was watching a lot of documentaries about 9/11, and they were interviewing the firemen that did make it, and they all knew that some of them weren't going to make it when they were gathered together in this moment of prayer before going in to try and rescue people and go up the stairs and all of this. It was very emotional. It was emotional for them. And I'm just sitting here listening, going, gosh, I don't even think I could do that. Did that ever cross your mind that you could die, with any of these things?
So unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. I
Now,
don't know if that's unfortunate. I think it's just realizing humanity,
yeah,
that it's
yeah.
a gift.
I mean, New York. So I said we don't have a lot of fires. So New York is the exception. So
Hmm.
there are a few departments in the country that do a lot of fires.
Hmm.
We were I'm in in the Washington D.C. metropolitan area, and we sometimes we went into D.C. proper, and sometimes we're in the suburbs of D.C. So there's a lot more water there than fires. There's Potomac River, and there's a lot of bodies of water. So that added to be able to help the community even more. So
Mm.
really to step up my game.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a sobering thought because many times my dad was an Air Force Reserve.
Wow, that's
My
awesome.
brother is Army,
God
and he
bless.
spent 30 something years. He's a Warrant Officer 5, which
Well,
is a big deal because there's only
yes.
5 in the country,
Thank you
apparently.
for his service.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. And one of the things that they're wired different. All of them are firemen, fire people, because there's women there,
Of
right?
course,
Firefighters.
of course.
And anybody that serves in the military, you have to be having either a missing thing about, oh, I'm afraid, or you're just, your life is
Dedicated to
about
serving,
service.
serving. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
always about serving. So I think that's significant. I don't know. I think nurses, people that are nurses, I don't know about doctors, but definitely nurses. And I think teachers have that same
Absolutely. Yeah.
same type of mindset.
The drive. Yeah.
I think
Mission.
nurses can die also
Mission.
in service. We now know teachers can too.
Yeah.
So it's valuable. Well, I want to thank you for being that. I'm curious about a volunteer firefighter because when you've mentioned that, I go, I guess you go through the same kind of training, but you don't get paid.
Yeah.
So that,
You don't get paid. You get paid in different ways. I mean,
how?
because serving your community.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So that the reward of serving your community
Hmm.
is just as significant to many people.
Mm. Yeah.
And if you're a career, then you get both. So I was a volunteer when I began as a volunteer operationally, but then I would have various deployments, like when I served on the presidential protection team when I was
Wow.
supporting.
Which president?
So it was Obama and Bush as well.
Wow.
So on the presidential protection team, when I served as a hazmat paramedic, um, as supporting the Seabirths, which is a group of Marines, then or the Secret Service, or teaching at the Secret Service Academy to the SWAT team. They call it the CAT team,
Mm.
counter assault team. So those would be paid, but in normal day-to-day operations at the firehouse, that was serving your community, like most firemen actually in the country do.
So you actually got to meet the presidents?
Can't talk too much about it,
No,
but
that's okay. I just went, wow, you really met them. That's like really, really cool too. Yeah. And I think, and again, I've been on this binge of watching a lot of documentaries. I watched the documentaries about the Kennedy family also and the assassination of John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy. And I just went, well, people, I mean, they were riding in a car totally open, seeing
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
And you just never think about somebody that can take your life away. Now everything's closed, it's protected.
yeah. We look back and we say, wow, what in the world were they thinking? Like how, like, of course somebody is going to take a shot. Our minds, it's interesting how quickly our mind, like what the standards change. Like,
Overnight.
like today, if you see a kid without a helmet on riding his bike, oh man, the parents should be arrested for child abuse. They don't have a helmet
Yeah.
on. And back in the day, like you would never think of having a helmet on. How quickly things change.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. And I think it's that false sense of security because before 9/11, we thought we were, indomitable, right? Nothing could touch us. I think as Americans. And then once that happens, you realize, oh, wait a minute, stuff happens.
Yeah. I mean, stuff was happening. A lot of things were happening, but wasn't we are somewhat of an island.
Right.
The our country is, I think, um, unfortunately, uh, somewhat unique in that we're sort of a country both in the physically on an island, physically
Because we're
and our
surrounded by
mindset
water.
surrounded by water, and also because of our stature in the world.
Hmm. Our
We
economic stature.
yeah,
Yeah.
we don't we aren't as aware of different cultures as we should be. That's sort of what the integration was
Right.
on my eyes, is that we to look at things interdisciplinarily and internationally. And a lot of the work I do, I'm very fortunate. I work with many of our allies throughout the world. I've been on the ground in over 32 countries working on space programs, both whether they be technical or policy or treaties, but being able to work with our partners to enable uh, for them to receive all the benefits of space and for us to have advantages of their technologies and working together to to use space to empower a better world for everybody.
Mm.
But we traditionally in the U.S. don't have as strong a connection to our international allies as we should. Um, in Europe, of course, your countries are smaller and they're more closely connected. You're connected to a broader Europe, Latin America, also the same. You have common language and different cultures, but you're very there's a lot of uh, intermingling and less so in America, unfortunately.
Mm. How many countries have you traveled to? I promise you, we're going back to space after this one. But I
Yeah.
find you so interesting because I'm sitting there going, wow, in your life, the amount of things that you've had in the amount of years you've lived is significant.
Yeah.
And you've had experiences that people dream of having, and you've done them.
I am super lucky, and that's why I started out with the inspiration. I want to be able to inspire the next generation,
I'm
as
inspired.
I said, to have everything I've been blessed to do, and much more.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to help replace me a million times over
Yeah.
with other people. So yeah, I've been blessed. So like 32 countries. Um, at last count, hopefully it's still
I
from
understand it's something like 100, a little bit over 100. Like I want to say it's like 110 countries or something. One of my friends used to work at Disney, and she's no longer there. And she has kept all of her passports because it had every country that she has traveled to because of Disney, but
yeah,
also just
Disney,
for
nice, yeah.
enjoyment. And she had told me, and I'm going to Google it while we're talking here, how many countries there were in the world. And I went, wow, you've been to just about everyone.
Yeah, so it's 189. It's some we joke I do a lot of work.
195, it says.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So 189, I think, are at the UN. I do a lot of work at the UN. So 195 is the current count. Cool. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we kind of joke it changes on a daily basis depending on
You're right.
who's seceding and who's not. But
Hmm.
and then I have an international UN organization that we represent. Well, we just had a space event that we have had over 185 different countries participate.
At the one we were just at.
No, a different one. This is the NASA International Space Apps Challenge. That one we've had or this year alone we had over 96 about 96,000 participants throughout the world, and that was across 163 or so countries, but we've had traditionally about 185 participate.
Wow. So let's talk
That's
about,
the other nice thing about space is it's inherently international, so connect with everybody.
yeah, let's talk about where did the idea for WIN come from? I know it was World Innovation
Network.
Network. Yeah. So where did that come from and what is your why?
So the why is to be able to inspire, as we said, inspire the next generation. But so world, as we said, is looking at everything interdisciplinary, looking at our allies and neighbors, looking at how lucky, how fortunate we are, and to be blessed with so many resources and so much opportunity here, and how can we be able to empower our friends and allies throughout the world to be able to have similarly, and how can they not just be sort of consumers of our ideas, but how they can contribute to the innovation as well, because they have great ideas as well. As a matter of fact, many times often better because through challenges or through adversity or through necessity is the mother of invention. So sometimes people that have the least have the best ideas. We can't always think it's just us. So world, and then of course innovation is thinking differently, looking at problems through and not through all 360 ways of looking at a problem. And a network is being able to connect all of the people that are coming forward with their great ideas, and not just connecting the dots, as we often say. It's really more important that we connect the thoughts and be able to work together and integratively to be able to and iteratively to be able to solve the challenges that we have. So
Wow.
and of course it's a winning acronym, of course.
Yes, yes. Well, that is really beautiful there. Um, Curious about you mentioned something, things that you've done, that you've been an author. I know we're going to talk about this in the second half of the show. Do you have other books that you've written that you're not going to mention in the second half?
I don't think so, no.
Not yet. Okay,
The,
so our
the,
listeners have something to look forward
yeah.
to. Yeah. And then speaker, where are some of the places? What have you talked about? What has that speaking circuit been like for you?
So it's been amazing because that's the one of the ultimate opportunities to inspire and to integrate and with communities, because it's really we call it speaking. I don't like that word too much actually though, because you have to be able to be a speaker, you have to do more listening
That's true.
than speaking. So when I go to whatever event I'm speaking, I don't, some people unfortunately kind of do drive-by speaking, and they kind of fly in, they just in time, a couple, an hour before they're on stage, and then they talk and then they leave. And I really look at a full immersion. Like I want, because I want to understand the context. I want to understand what people's needs, wants, desires are, what their whys are. And so that I can make sure that I'm addressing those, and then I'm helping connect their thoughts and bring those communities together. So I just seconds ago before I came in here. I was in Houston. I mean, I just arrived from Houston, where I was really blessed to be at the Houston Space Center, the NASA Johnson Space Flight Center, in the IMAX theater, where I talked about the UN initiative that I am blessed to be a part of, where we're bringing together right now over 106 international nonprofits and NGOs throughout the world to be able to promote space for the solving of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. Um, so poverty, clean water, education, all the UN, the 17, but be able to show how space can supercharge all of those and help accelerate our accomplishing all of those goals.
So, how many countries did you say were
Uh,
there?
so that's 106 different organizations.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
organizations.
And then
Wow.
many of them are across multiple countries. So they represent probably about 160 countries.
Wow. Um, that's significant. So, I imagine not only our president, you've met other dignitaries from around the world. Do you speak multiple languages?
Uh, I
They all speak English, right?
Yeah, so I'm not that good on my other languages anymore. Unfortunately they're yeah,
There's so many.
yeah, I'm not I can barely do English actually anymore, unfortunately,
Yeah,
as
I
you
think we're
probably can
all
tell from this one.
challenged with that.
But yeah, I know people that I used to be able to, well, whenever I go to a country, I would at least know how to start a conversation and say hi, hello, how are you? I felt that that was really important to be able to show respect for
Right.
their but then sometimes when I start out, then it was, and if I would get too good at the accent because I was listening to everybody either on the plane or on the cassette tapes or back in the day, or on YouTube now, um, and if I got too good, then I could just say if I hello, if I said the hello too well, and
Too authentically.
then right, then they would start to
Talk super
that,
fast.
yeah, and I no, that's all I know. So much more careful. But I haven't been able to hang on to my languages as well as I would like
Oh,
to.
that's okay. I mean, you do great work here. That's amazing stuff that you do. So when you're so the purpose of WIN is to be able to help pull the world together, obviously closer, so that we're all having mutual conversations about, space. What does that look like when you do this kind of I don't know if you're facilitating it or
Mhm.
how it's working, but what happens at these meetings?
So there's all different kinds. Some are to tackle specific problems, specific either the achievements that we need, milestones we need to achieve, um, it, in space as far as exploration or habitation or settlement, or transportation or communication, all the different things space can do. Um, or sometimes they are about, as I said, being able to supercharge the sustainable development goals. So how does space help you to be able to look at gender equality, for instance, by having communication systems that allow for education to be beamed anywhere through various downlinks, um, then you really enable all kinds of goodness with that education. But the other area that is space is just space is as a trick, as a trigger to be able to, the other I word is inspire, to be able to inspire the next gen to want to explore, to want to learn, to see opportunities for them in the workforce because of all the different jobs that space needs. So you think of, a lot of people think of rocket scientists, and it's true, you need rocket scientists in space, but you need everybody in space. You need everything from artists to astronauts, and from musicians to mathematicians, and from sculptures to scientists, and from rock stars to rocket scientists, because space has a place for every face. We need everybody there.
Mm.
And that's one of the unique things about the discipline of space that makes it so exciting and so inspiring, because it's so inclusive. And so I'm using that through education, starting in kindergarten, K through 12, through all so many amazing partners throughout my network, throughout World Innovation Network, to bring the inspiring nature of space to the entire next generation, and use that as a tool to be able to show them all the opportunities there are for them.
Mm.
Especially today, people are seeing, they look ahead and they go, oh, AI is swallowing up all these jobs, or the economy isn't so good, or, college is so expensive, all these different challenges. But I want to show some of the positives and some of the opportunities that are available.
Hmm. I like that quite a bit. I think that, well, just like anything, every industrial revolution that we've had, there we know there's been four. To me, I'm going, well, we're already in
Yep.
the fifth one. Um, there was always a concern when we had no steam engines. Oh, we've got steam engines. Now what happens? People are going to lose jobs. Well, we get jobs. But there's this place where the technology is advancing so much. There's many people, I don't see them getting jobs. And that's my concern is sure, new jobs will be created, but there are those with mental deficiencies, physical disabilities that are not going to fit into any of those boxes. They might be a wonderful greeter at Walmart, and they might be a great cashier or an assistant manager at a McDonald's. But if we turn robots into replace people with some of these roles, these people are not going to necessarily be able to do something else. We are making it so the automations and the robots are replacing those roles. So where do these people go? That becomes my biggest concern is that, yes, it's wonderful, but it's also frightening for those people that we're not remembering.
So I think it should be frightening for everybody, actually,
Yeah,
and not just them.
because we will, according to the Jetsons, I'm going to quote Jetsons now, um, be in a 2-day work week or even a 1-day work week because the robots run everything
Right.
else.
Yeah. And so how are you gonna make a living? How are people
Yeah.
gonna make a living? And also, how are they gonna meet not just the living, how their purpose, like
Hmm.
their mission? So we talked about space being a mission, and not just a mission, but as I say, a mission that matters, and that gives people that inspiration. Again, the I word, the inspiration that is so vital to be able to inspire them to enter the workforce, to learn, to study, to be diligent. So I agree. I mean, Sharon, I'm not sure where I don't often in public company, a polite company, be able to say that we're afraid of the dark underbelly of these technologies. And I agree. People say all the time, "Oh yeah, when we had ATMs and we got rid of the bankers, or we had the robots in the car factory, that they were able to change." But those changes actually happened over somewhat of a long period of time. I mean, when we look at them retrospectively or in history books, it seemed quick, but people had time to adjust and time to pivot. And there's
That's being lost now.
yeah, I do
I
think the
agree.
iteration. So there's two things. The iterations are quicker,
Accelerated.
accelerator, exactly. And but also our ability to adjust and to
There's no
pivot
learning curve there.
has been reduced. We
Hmm.
are less agile, kind of more stuck in our ways than ever before, unfortunately. And I think our ability to have that kind of agility and flexibility that we need has been reduced. So those two are kind of opposites and conflicting with each other. I think though some of the people, so I think there's a challenge to everybody. Now, some of the people that have particular challenges you mentioned will be helped by some of these technologies because they'll be able to assist them with their daily activities, activities of daily life. Maybe not for their in the job perspective, but in their everyday uh, accomplishments potentially. So there'll be some beneficiaries there, but overall, I think that we there'll be lots of losses.
I agree. We're going to go on to another question here. When you look back at your life at the place where you are now,
Yep.
40s, what do you think of is that you're super proud of? You wouldn't have recognized it at that age, but you look back on it and go, wow, that was a pivotal moment in my life. That changed something for somebody or changed it for you? It can be anything, honestly.
Sure. So, there's a number of items. I won't get too specific on some of the family things because my family members will be mortified.
Yeah.
But so I won't. But I was involved very much in bringing the GPS technologies into our everyday life and be able to have the, our not just the track amp cards, but automated mapping so people don't have to have stacks of paper maps and all of the technologies and the businesses that have been enabled by that, all of our safety that's been increased by that, by first responders being able to get to you quicker. So it GPS technology was initially obviously a military was the government only military purposes. And when we first said, well, why don't we put this in a car? Or actually, they were in tanks. Initially, they were made for only at sea as well, for ships at sea, because you would say, well, on land, we don't need them on land. We have maps and we have street signs. So what do we need GPS for? I mean,
Mm.
we now that seems silly, but at the time, that mindset was, people weren't thinking outside the box. They said, well, we have maps, we have street signs, we don't need GPS. That's silly. Why carry around this like brick to be able to see this X and Y where we are? We don't need it. And so I said, no, I think to be able to have that level of instant specificity would be beneficial. So I started soldering the GPS transceiver about this brick about this big to a satellite transmitter, which about this big, um, with about like this 10. I actually was soldering the interfaces together. The GPS, which was receiving your position, and the satellite. This was before cellular, of course.
Hmm.
The satellite terminal and soldering those, looking at what the pins were, and being able to have that first receiving that first position location from the GPS and sending it out automatically was people were like, well, that's silly. Like, why do I need that? Like, I know where they are. They're right there, or they're right where I left them, or right where or I call them up on the radio and say they are. They didn't realize the potential of what that would unlock in terms of all the safety and security and all the business it would enable. And so that I'm really excited and proud of where that's headed and what that created.
That's
That's
interesting.
that's one example, yeah.
Your favorite cartoon, movie, or game about the future and
So
why?
this is scary. Uh, so when most people look forward, we talked about AI, and most people think about when they say how scary AI is, they think of something like
2001
2000.
Space Odyssey.
Yeah, for instance, a HAL taking over and taking over the ship, or they think of the Terminator.
Yep. The
But
Matrix.
yeah, we could be so lucky to get to that point. I think the movie that I fear most when I think about AI for the future is Idiocracy.
I don't know this one.
Yeah, so Idiocracy is what the world would look like if we it, they didn't really talk about AI specifically in there, but you could see because this was actually before it was a thing, or before in between it was a thing. So it was a thing when I was in school, and then it became not a thing, and now it's back. But idiocracy is when we sort of outsource our brains and let somebody else do the thinking for us.
Is
Um,
this a real movie?
yeah. Mhm.
Do you
Yep.
know when it came out?
No.
I'm going to look it up while you're
Yeah.
talking. Who's in it?
Is
It's
it
2006,
okay?
and it says, "Oh, Dax Shepard is in it." That's what's her name's husband, or maybe ex-husband. I'm not sure now. Kristen and Luke Wilson. Yeah. Dax Shepard was married to, or is married to, the blonde that. Oh God, I'm gonna look it up while we're talking.
Okay.
Yeah. Married to Kristen Bell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's a great actress, and he's really good too. But what is this movie about?
It's about what the world looks like when everybody is like it's called idiocracy. So you can
Mm.
imagine it's about becoming
Says,
idiots. Yeah.
I'll tell you, the definition of average American is selected by the Pentagon to be the guinea pig for a top secret, I don't know, something. And that's where it finished going out. Is it plain? It says it's on YouTube. So I'm going to have to go look for this one and see what this one's about. I haven't seen it promoted, so it must be a carefully hidden secret, is what I'm guessing.
I mean, not so much in my circles, but I think in mainstream, yeah, I think
Mm.
so because I
Mm.
think it's
Is it funny? Is it supposed to be
well,
satirical?
it's supposed to be, but it's more scary when you think about because I don't know that it was designed to be a comedy,
Hmm.
but I think it's unfortunately turned into a documentary.
Wow. Yeah, because they can shift based on whatever it is that's happening. Well, that's interesting. So we're going to take a moment to acknowledge our sponsor, Cat 5 Studios, and we will be right back.
The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Cat 5 Studios, who help you create games and videos for your training and marketing needs that are out of this world. Visit Cat 5 Studios for more information to learn how Cat 5 Studios can help your business. Thank you, Cat 5 Studios.
So we're back to the second half of the show where we talk about what the future is going to look like in 2030. And my guest again is Robert Katz. So, Robert, what do you think 2030 will look like in the world, in your industry, since we're talking about space, and what the job opportunities might look like?
Great. So thank you for asking. So I'm excited about what the world will look like in 2030. The trajectory that we are on, pardon the pun, in the space industry is is really exciting and full of opportunities. And opportunities, and again, not just for astronauts and rocket scientists, but for everybody. Because when we're looking at, and by then we will begin to have settlements, um, or begin to settle and have colonies or permanent presence on at least the moon and working on Mars towards that. And we're starting out these new civilizations on these planets from scratch. Again, we need everybody, not just the astronaut that goes there, but we need specialists in design and architecture, philosophy, psychology. You know how the interaction between all these people, um, which impacts the design, even impacts the colors of the habitats. So it's going to be a very, very exciting time with lots of opportunities for everybody in these industries. If people step up, I mean, people have to step up to unfortunately, as I say, get off the phone, get off the tablet, get off the couch, and engage with all these opportunities that are before us, with all these learning opportunities that we have available to us.
Mhm. So I know that you mentioned something about a book that you're working on. Why don't you talk to us about this book? What is it? Because my next question is the positive and the negative impact that AI can have on the future, and I'm going to guess your book might be around that.
Yes, it is. It is unfortunately we have a lot of good news books, and so we have to balance that with but some potential warnings. And so my book is not about the evolution of our technologies, but the potential de-evolution of us. And so it's called De-Evolution.
So how long is this book? Is it going to be like short chapters, a vignette? I'm not sure.
In between.
Okay. So, when do you anticipate it being out and available? Are you going to sell it on Amazon or
Everywhere.
self-published?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, everywhere. Well, both. I mean, but you can self-publish and be on Amazon, so it's both. It's going to be both everywhere.
Okay.
Because it should be hopefully a wake-up call. And every time I'm about to put it out, there's just too much more juicy material that I want to include in it. Because really almost every day there's further warnings about what happens when we outsource too much of too much of anything. We outsource to we see, okay, cars are great, but we used to walk around all the time and walk places, and we would stay in good shape. But when cars come or or bikes, or those are great inventions, true, but they also reduce our level of fitness that we have in ourselves. When we people used to have a good vocabulary or good spelling, and then now we can have dictionaries that we can look up words. We don't have to
Oh,
memorize.
people don't even use
Yeah,
dictionaries.
exactly. So we don't. But so when we outsource too much of something to, so we're outsourcing now too much of our brain to AI, then or to computers in general, or even our social interactions. We're outsourcing too much of our social interactions to social media, which is ironically a misnomer. It's unsocial media. That's what I call it. Then we lose our social skills. And so we will lose our cognitive ability if we continue outsourcing our cognitive capacity to technology too much. And we talk about this switch because if we look at our tools throughout our evolution, which is the core of the book, when we got the spear, it empowered us to be able to eat or to hunt, and then we got more protein because we have animals, not just vegetables, which makes our brains bigger and more cognitive ability, but also allowed us to have better protection against predators. And then we got fire, and we kept progressing, and then we got the books or tablets, printing press, and all of these tools, all these inventions allowed us to grow as a civilization, as people. And then we started to get computers, and okay, maybe yes, we have access to all this information, but also we can be playing games all day and not, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with games, of course, but
not everybody's going to be an influencer.
It's like food. We can't have unlimited food. We have to have the right amount. So just like games, so we don't want to abuse, and then we have too much connectedness results in disconnectedness, ironically. So now our tools today have somewhat of a disruptive effect to our growth instead of a productive effect. That's what I talk about, to the point that we are completely relying on technology for all of our interactions, and we're not having the interactions as people that are so important to our own well-being and that of our community and that of our civilization. So it is somewhat of a warning sign that we should be able to disrupt that de-evolution.
I agree with you. I see the pendulum swinging in the other way because remote work, using a lot of AI tools, I've noticed this about people, and it's impacting all ages. People, their ability to have short-term or long-term memory is rapidly disintegrating, and that's the key word there. They go, oh, what was that? I know I do it. And I used to have to know everybody's phone number and I had it memorized. And I used to have to know how to do math in my head. And I used to be able to write cursive and things that we take for granted if you were from a certain generation, because I know that they started eliminating some of these things in different generations. It means that people do not have the ability to have an intelligent conversation. They get so much anxiety about having to speak with people. So how I sit here and go, well, we're going to have to teach people how to be human. We're going to have to teach them how to have interaction. We're going to have to teach them how to have not just interaction, but relationship, what work relationship, what personal relationship looks like.
That's exactly what that's exactly.
I'm on the same page.
Talk about. I mean, I think that in social media or unsocial media, if we, in one way, we're hiding behind the anonymity that unfortunately permits people to have interactions they otherwise wouldn't have in person.
Right.
And then sometimes those become dysregulated, and then they can't have a regular conversation, especially because they're not used to being able to interact with somebody and appreciate their ideas, that empathy, their ideas, like we said, listening more than speaking, we talked about. And in social media, they're used to, if they don't like somebody, push a button, they block them,
Yeah.
turn them off. And in real life, you can't do that. So we need to really get back to being humans again.
I I agree. I agree totally. So I'm hoping that your book is touching on not just like calling it out, but ways that we can re-engage
Yes.
and we can change this.
Yes.
Yeah, so that would be immensely helpful. So
So
what
it's just disrupt, as I say, disrupt the de-evolution.
I know we've been talking about this pretty much throughout the whole show, but if you have something specific that we haven't already mentioned, that would be great. What is the positive impact that AI can have on the future of work? Because there are, we talked about it. It can produce the ability to be more creative because, I'm not having to do a
Yes.
tedious task over again.
Yes, absolutely.
But tedious tasks teach us things too. So I go, it's a double-edged sword.
Well, you have to be, I mean, everything it gives you, you should be able to validate. Like I mean, you need to validate. You
Right.
have to, things have to still be sourced, and you have to give recognition to where those ideas may have come from. Because unfortunately, it used to be that you would have attribution for people's specific ideas. And of course, there is some litigation going on about this, because then once they're sucked up into the ether of the internet, then sometimes that's lost. And initially, for some of the tools, there was no references at all. It would just spit out the what they thought was the results, and you would have to manually check, and what you should manually check and cross-reference everything it would give you. But you have to question everything. Now, in that process of questioning everything, not just, you would hopefully learn, you're essentially reverse engineering where the answer it gave you, and then going back to the source. And so it gives you a head start, but you still should be doing that breadcrumb trail yourself, to be able to understand, and then learning through that process so that you can understand, and then you develop the processes in with yourself as well, and then be able to better interact with it, but also better interact with people. I mean, it all should result in being able to better interact with people, because those, as you said, those relationships are what's important.
Yeah, exactly. So something that I'm glad you're mentioning the citations and ways that we validate, we double check to see, is this legitimate? Is it a primary source or a secondary source? And those are principles that we learn in school. Well, depending on depending on what level you are. You may not learn about it if you're in a community college, but you should be learning definitely about it if you're in a PhD or a master's level, for sure. And it should be happening in a four-year college. It should be. I think that going to college will become something that's a privilege. A lot of the schools will continue to collapse as online education takes a stronger foothold in life. I believe that what we will see is that those that do get to go to college on the ground are more privileged. They'll have financial privileges so that they will be able to gain some of those social skills that are needed. Those that go to school and they do it all online, I think that there's going to be less deep connection with people because it's through eating, through touch, through all of our senses of being in a room with a person. And I don't mean that in something that's provocative. I'm just talking about just, you're in a room with people. And I just want to make sure I'm clarifying that for listeners.
Yep.
There is so much that we can create that's experiential in a work environment that we cannot replicate it. I don't care how good it is, augmented, virtual, either way, realities are not necessarily a replacement for
Absolutely.
humans.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
And so especially in the space industry, but a lot of our education will be more career oriented, career focused. So there's so many great opportunities for technical skills, for building things, as we get, especially when we're building a lot, we need lots of infrastructure, both in space to get to space, here on the ground as well. But there's so people are really need to look at their educational journey, similarly to we spoke about, kind of make a full circle about innovation, and begin with the end in mind. Say, this is where I see my place. This is the occupation I aspire to, and these are the different paths to get there. And some of those paths may involve college, and many may not, and some may involve being able to have a combination of apprenticeships and internships and community college, and then beginning the career, and then having the opportunity of having the employer pay for it potentially. So we need to begin with that end in mind by looking at, where do we see ourselves? Where do we aspire to? Unfortunately, too many students just go to college and say, I'm just going to go to college, I'll figure it out. And that doesn't always happen. I actually am a big advocate of slowing down a little bit, and not rushing right in. So many high schools are just, you're on the treadmill. Somewhat, I won't be pejorative against the schools, but some people say rat race, but we won't say that. But I mean, I know middle schoolers, or even earlier than middle school, that are already saying, oh, I need to do this because this looks good on my college application, and they're starting studying for the SATs when they're in elementary school. So we need to have some time to be able to think about where we see ourselves in the world, all the different occupations and careers that are available to us. And you don't typically always have time in a lot of high school programs to do that. So I'm a big fan of being able to take a look at and shadow and mentor and be out there, and whether that's through after school or junior achievement, or all kinds of different programs, or a gap year right after high school, be able to explore. I actually am an advocate of a space gap year as well, so something that's modeled after the Peace Corps. I'm working on a national program called the Space Corps, or Star Corps, where you'd have the opportunity to step into a space-related career role and explore, pardon the pun, that career opportunity for you before you put yourself into a trajectory in college, or that may not be right for you, that may not be the fit, and allow you to have that opportunity to explore the different possibilities that you may not know about.
I like that very much. One of my guests that I had on earlier, he was telling me about, and I know that anytime we do hackathons, it just exponentially, it changes everything. Your mind gets rewired. And he was telling me, because he has theater background,
That's awesome,
that there was this kind of a hackathon. In 48 hours, you had to produce a film, and they would get a packet. Everybody had to sign up for this, and they would get a packet. They would go meet complete strangers, just like a hackathon, and be able to go, okay, they were given certain pieces of information, like here's the theme. Here was something to write with, some hints and some other clues, if you will, to be able to put together a film about this theme. What I liked about that is when he described it, I said, it sounds like a game jam, and it sounds like Startup Weekend, and it sounds like everything that I've ever gone to that's always been accelerated, experiential, and relational opportunities to learn. And he goes, yeah, exactly. And I went, I did not know they had that. So I'm hoping that your Space Corps is going to be something like that. So you can figure out, oh, we need to fail fast. No, I do not want to be in space because I have a fear of claustrophobia. I do not want to be in a space suit. I would rather be a technician that's, whatever.
It's building the rocket, building launch pad, or doing research on how we can grow plants and
The botanist
on the moon.
roles, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's all kinds of there's all roles for everybody.
So do you see those as being more of a virtual reality type of a opportunity to figure this out, or would it be truly as much hands-on as possible?
Both.
Okay,
So
good.
everything would start in virtual reality or simulation. And of course, there's no better place to do that than where we are here. We're speaking from Orlando, the simulation capital of the universe, at least the known universe.
Mhm.
Here we are. So it's a perfect launch pad, if you will, to space because we need to simulate everything and work out all those kinks before we actually do it, before we do the last I implementation. And we can do that the other I, the iteration here through simulation before we actually do the implementation. So we really simulation provides so many opportunities for people to have those experiences and also to be able to have that rapid failing fast, as you talked about.
Mhm. Yep. Okay. So we've talked a lot about the positive and the ethical dilemmas, and it's hard to believe we're like at the end. So
Oh,
we're going to be,
no.
yeah, we're going to be, no, it's been a great conversation. You've already crafted the conversation with your 5 words throughout the whole show. So no, you've been a perfect guest. So what do you think is the best mentoring advice that you want to share with our listeners about the future?
So I would say there's so many, but I
It's
would
okay.
say
You can say more than one.
follow your ABCs.
What is that?
Always be curious. Always be curious.
Hmm.
So be curious so that we talked about always want to explore, always want to expand your horizons, whether that's be expanding your knowledge or expanding your capabilities, expanding your career, but also means on a small everyday sort of question everything. We talked about that in terms of using AI to get answers and results. Like don't take everything that the AI says as gospel.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Or as anything anybody else says. Now if it's your parents, maybe a little bit differently, but in general, always be curious and have healthy skepticism. Sometimes the more people sound like they know what they're talking about, the less they really do. I mean, the most brilliant people in the world will say, this is how I see things. This is what I think, leaving the door open. So really always be curious, always have healthy skepticism, always check and double check for references, and always want to expand your horizons. ABC, always be curious.
Yes, I love that. That's a very solid piece of advice. Now, how can our listeners contact? I always give a LinkedIn profile, so they'll have that in the show description and also on a close card. But your website, what is it?
It's simple. WIN .NGO.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Perfect. Well, I have enjoyed having you as a guest. This is delightful.
I'm so blessed. God,
Yeah.
really, really
The
blessed to
feeling's
be here.
mutual. We're in each other's fan club for sure. So, just so you know, listeners, I hope that you follow up with him. This gentleman is a wealth of knowledge, and he gives continuously to so many areas and to so many groups. And his organization is a nonprofit. So please go and support when you go and look there. Drop him a check or something over there. And it's not for him, it's for the work that he does. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's really such a blessing to be here. And all the work that you do, we're also grateful to have you in our community.
Oh, thank you. We want to thank our sponsor, Cat 5 Studios, and thank you to our video production and editing team, Gavin Staley and Rachel Mathis. Music is by Sophie Lloyd. The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Employers for Change, helping hiring teams to recruit and upskill their intern talent and employees. Learn more at www.e4c.tech and become a member to reduce employer bias and improve company culture through head and heart smart recruiting and learning. Subscribe to The Intern Whisperer today and show your support by sharing our show, tagging a friend, and leaving us comments. You can find the Intern Whisperer podcast on Employers for Change YouTube channel or streaming from your favorite podcast channel. Thank you so much.